challenges that we have to be intentional with how we approach it. And you've been again listening to us from the NAPAC CDI monthly webinar series. Our guests today have been giving us a generic insight into the Nigerian mining sector. Within NAPAC CDI, our focus is to continue to look at opportunities and figure out how we'll continue to elevate ourselves above the challenges within the different economies we're focused on. As Nigerians, our primary goal is to see how we can complement, the Nigerian economy, leveraging our diverse portfolios of professional expertise, networks, to actually, impact and improve on things. We're a for-profit entity, and we're very focused more on solutions as against the challenges. Having said, today, our speakers have been able to give us a depth insight with regards to, the mining sector. I would go next now to, Mr. Sadiq, who's more on the trading side, for him to actually let us know, referencing, some of the input from Mr. Tony, what's it like trading, some of your goods outside of Nigeria? Again, with reference to what, Mr. Tony also said, what effort are you also taking to see that you improve beyond just exploring the solid minerals, but also maybe even creating product lines out of it, for the end users in terms of large scale consumer users of some of this, this products that you're able to extract? Mr. Sadiq, over to you, sir.
Oh, okay. Thank you, everyone. There's so much intellectual property on this podcast, on the on the webinar. It is difficult to answer these questions without going technical and kind of paralyzing the listeners and our audience. I have been trying to crack my mind. How do I pass the message? How do we activate our onlookers to key into this? Do they really understand what we're talking about at this point? I understand what Madam said, what Doctor said. It's not up to us at this point. Like, the world itself is shifting to a net zero target. It has the target of going completely green by 2050. So there is a timestamp. There's a problem we now have, which is it's a deadline, first and foremost. So when you're talking about supplying the world, how do we export? How do we sell what we have? What are the challenges? I think first, critical metals. Do we understand what it is? It is essential for modern technology and economic security. So it's not a case of the world liking you. It's what you can contribute at this point, right? And how does an average or regular Nigerian key in? How does he create wealth? Because one thing we need as many billionaires from Nigeria as possible, global billionaires in USD or more. How do we do that fast and properly? Not necessarily like just super fast, but I mean, it's within, there's a target of 2030, there's a target of 2050. When the world converts or leaves fossil fuel technology, especially the vehicles, for instance, let's just take like the electronic vehicles as an example to just give context to the audience. There are 6 metals on each side. The 6 metals that make up the electric vehicle. There are 6 metals that make up the electric vehicle battery. China controls 85% of this sector. They are producing the vehicles for the world. And the Chinese have been locked out, as I said, from a lot of all these places where they sourced the metals. We were allocated 5% of the global resource for these things, but apparently, I think they were rude doing that without our consent. And how do you give us 5%? And they've been here for like 2-3 years, pillaging it. We have aluminium, nickel, and cobalt. Those 3 minerals that I just mentioned are unique to both the electric vehicle and the battery itself. And we have that in Nigeria. Now, on the electric vehicle part, you have copper, rare earth elements, and steel. On the battery side, you have lithium, manganese, and graphite. We are able to have a one-stop shop. All the metals you need to create the vehicle and manufacture the battery, you can find them in Nigeria. We can really be bold enough to say, don't take anything out till it's in a usable form. And we're able to increase our exports. Because you have to ask yourself in all of these big conversations, what do we want? And how are we able to generate wealth, economic security? Like, how are we able to do this? Every other Nigerian kind of has somebody abroad. We have to engage the diaspora in a very deliberate method. And a ton of Nigerians do not have capital. So how do they key into this $1 trillion, $1 trillion industry, if you may, is to leverage on your network. You don't need a dime to get into the mining sector. You have the intellectual property, and you need to understand the resource base, which is the resource mapping and the regulatory environment. Secondly, you need to form the strategic partnerships, local partnerships. You need to get involved, ask the right questions. You need to get your international partnerships, like get in touch with your people that you have abroad. We have minerals. Tell them the truth. I don't know much about it, but I can get details. Are you interested? Can you find me those that are interested? Can you find me those that are interested? You would need to invest in technology of the infrastructure, which is the mine technology and processing facilities, of which people don't have that money, but they can initiate the conversation. You need to build skilled workforce, the education and the training, sustainable practices, leverage the markets, advocate for policies that are favorable to us. To answer the issue about how we're able to improve trade, is to be able to block the loopholes. And that has a lot to do with the very average Nigerian that a foreigner would call and say, here is my question. People would need to know on a very broad base what our target is as a country, as a people. So this involves the government, the regulators, but don't forget, we could wake up tomorrow and we have another minister. So these things we need to leave them first. It's important. The part that the role that they play is critical, but we, the players in there, are more. It's dire for us to have what we don't shift. So whoever comes in is a newcomer. We tell them exactly what the mode of operation is. So we would need to involve a lot of our people in this so that they're able to leverage on network to build some major wealth. And we will need to process. So we are able to process. Majorly, one of the major challenges we have is processes, because what people ask, they ask for high concentrations. For instance, for lithium, they ask for high concentrations of lithium, of which the majority of lithium that you find in Nigeria is the low grades. So we need to be able to bump it up so that a lot of people can get to participate economically. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Sadiq. So here is what we'll definitely love to do, because I know we're basically on the hour. But I said earlier, we pretty much focus on solution as a